Why are Seiko celebrating Jaws the movie 50th anniversary? Because it wasn't Seiko that were involved.
Why
with
are
it.
all these brands slapping NASA on the dial that had nothing to do with anything NASA's done?
And why are they using the King Turtle model as the foundation for a shark-themed watch?
Because you know that a giant turtle is the natural enemy of the giant shark.
Okay, this went sideways somewhere. There we go. Greetings, welcome to the show. Hope you're all well wherever you are listening to us. Do remember you can tune into aBlogtoWatch weekly live on YouTube. We record about 7:30 on a Tuesday morning UK time. You can. I've just watched the replay of Ripley clapping, and he's clapping the wall. He actually clapped concrete. That's good because the theme was clapping in the style of Hublot concrete watch, which Ariel is wearing. Ariel. Yeah, for those who are watching on video, give us a quick display of the concrete watch.
So that's the latest Big Bang Mecha 10 concrete. This is the New York edition. Nothing particular makes it New York other than the fact that it's all gray like concrete. And we liked this watch when we saw it only in pictures. We thought it was just sort of a well-done combination of elements, the movement, the Mecha 10 manually wound with 10 days of power reserve, which looks cool. This quote unquote concrete case, the Big Bang style. It just made a lot of sense. We like the kind of smoked sapphire sides that allow you to see the movement a little bit in there. So we're reviewing one right now, and yeah, it's definitely a cool watch. I think Hublot might have a moment. I mean, they could screw it up. Don't get me wrong, but if they play their cards right, they're in a weird position right now because no one has really celebrated some of the better stuff they've done over the last 20 years, and a lot of people have talked crap. Plus, there's all these like really cool watches out there, some weird ones as well. So, if you're looking for deals and want like really weird stuff to collect, as well as nice in-house movements, Hublot is not a terrible idea, and they've been comfortable and they've been cool. They just had a weird prejudice. So, I mean, I've always been excited about the brand. I've never changed my position about it, but I don't know. You guys think that Hublot it's relatively like sober compared to some of the other ones right now?
I mean, pestilence, famine, war. Is Hublot becoming popular and having a moment, not the final sign of the apocalypse?
Wow. No? Yeah, if this is the last hurrah of this era's luxury watch industry, go out with a big bang.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
You like that?
There you go. I will like that. That's the marketing slogan. Yeah. The apocalypse is on the way. Go out with a big bang. Hublot. That's a strapline. It would probably be better than the Chrono 24 relaunch. So let's actually, on that note, go
what?
there.
Did they go somewhere?
Chrono 24 did a thing.
They did a thing. Chrono 24.
They hired the Jaguar marketing team.
Oh no!
You see,
no. I semi-believe you.
That would. Oh, this is that I'm playing the video. You tell me this is not done by the Jaguar marketing team. Come on. It's exactly the same. It's even got the same blue. It's even the same blue as a guy wearing two watches, a pool table that seems to have too many balls on it.
This looks like one of those Watches of Switzerland commercials that tries to appeal to everyone and no one at the same time.
It's literally the same advert as Jaguar. Literally, I think it's got some of the same people in it. There's a guy sitting in it. That's actually the only true thing about this relaunch is this image here. The guy sitting on the toilet.
I don't want to see it again. Thank you, Rick, though.
Well, that is just shocking. Hold up.
That is it.
Huge stall. What stall is that? That looks like a public restroom, but it is enormous. That back wall is like 10 feet from him.
That's a good point. He's in the top. Let's replay again just for David. That's a stall that goes on forever. Okay. Less said about that. The better. There's some people kissing.
Is it still going on?
It's still going on. It's 48 seconds.
Is he proposing to her with a watch? Is everyone?
He seems to be
choosing public transportation over.
What have we just witnessed?
Well, Ariel, they spent all their money on their Monacos. They can't afford their vehicles anymore.
Well, glad they're making commercials. We've been complaining they don't make marketing content for years. Now they do. We're making fun of them about it. We should be more supportive.
It's bad. We want good stuff. But this is really, truly a lot like the Jaguar stuff, really. Well spotted, Rick.
They just want us talking about it.
I do think that the best idea is what you just came up with. Was it David? You just said it, that the best rebrand of Chrono 24 would have been to call it Chrono 25.
I said that.
Ariel said it.
Was it you? Ariel said that. Do we know? Can somebody look up GoDaddy and tell me if chrono25.com is available? And we'll just launch it.
One better than Chrono 24.
Yes, we are one better.
But then we are exposed to Chrono 26, so somebody might claim that.
There we go. So yes, what does it say about a company when it has to rebrand like this? Has this ever worked for any company?
I don't understand what is actually different other than the logo.
Logo. Oh, and they've got a catchphrase. The catchphrase is.
Let's hear it.
Catchphrase is "Time is our thing." That is their catchphrase.
Time is our thing.
I think
good for you. I thought watches, but you know.
Yeah, I thought Chrono 25. No, it's not. Time is our thing. Is what we should go for.
I go there for watches, not for time, though.
We still can't tell you what to buy.
It's still all
lots of options, no suggestions.
Yeah,
Chrono 24. It's not an investment.
That's like
we got graphs. You have more questions.
Right. Well, while we're digesting that, some questions on the chat. So, why is there prejudice against Hublot?
I've only ever understood it as a function against some of the personalities that Hublot has historically associated with, sometimes for like one party or one event.
James is suggesting some of them on the chat.
Okay, so some of the people that wear it. So I feel like the judgment has been the human beings around Hublot more so than the products themselves.
It does seem to divide opinion. I mean, maybe that's a good thing, but I don't know. Other than the concrete watches just come out, I feel Hublot have actually been quite quiet for the last couple of years. I don't think they've created the divisiveness that they normally do.
What are you talking about? Every kind of shade of sapphire color they've played with in an over $100,000 or $500,000 way.
I think people don't like them, or they get a lot of backlash because they give things, they make things that people didn't ask for, but are inherently cool. No one wanted a Mecha 10 made of concrete, but here it is, and it's actually a really cool watch. But people, if they haven't already pre-co-signed it in their mind before it exists, is this would be cool, like a smaller Pelagos FXD. Of course, people already want the smaller Pelagos FXD. If Tudor finally releases one, people will like it because they've already wrapped their heads around it, something they like. It's really easily digestible. It's a three-handed dive watch. Hublot makes something weird like that, that Bug G Smuggler looking piece, or they do something in concrete, and people aren't really sure to know how they feel about it. They might feel both ways, but because there wasn't any preconceived notion about what it was, people always, their first response to something that's foreign is that the aversion. Rarely does someone see something completely out of the box, not they're thinking and going, yeah, I'm open to it, right? So I think some of it's that, but I think if you were to handle a lot of the watches and kind of get more familiarize yourself with the brand, you probably end up liking them.
David?
I mean, I thought it was over. I always just shrugged whenever not just shrugged. It sort of drove me mad that people would capitalize on their hatred on Hublot. It was so transparent, so obvious that you should not be this mad about just one brand. Especially since Hublot has done quite so much very well. Even here in Hungary, I saw like some influencers and stuff who were just hating on Hublot and, you should go to a manufacturer and buy a watch from a manufacturer. Like, you guys have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. But it gets the clicks, it gets the views, it gets the comments. Yep. Here we are talking about it just the same. So I guess it's something that's very easy to do, easy to capitalize on, and then create your own little army of ill-informed, half-smart people who think they know watches because they're crapping on Hublot. So, yeah, simple as that.
Well, let's crack on this particular article from yourself, David. I'm not sure, would you call it a refresh of a previous article that is just proving your point and you were right all along? But this is the grinding gears. Watch brands are not actually proud of their heritage. Are Hublot a brand that are proud of their heritage?
Do they have one though? I mean, they launched the Anniversary Fusion Classic Big Bang things in gold, and I thought, okay, well, here we go. So I think Hublot has a lot to be proud of, but it's just not quite so extensive.
They did nothing for the Big Bang anniversary so far. Okay, 20 years is whatever. It's not some some magical number, but they made a deal out of having this retro re-release, and there was no discussion of the history, what was cool at the time. Tag Heuer tries to get super nostalgic, you remember when the Formula One was new and why you were excited about it? Check out the new Formula One. They took you down this whole nostalgic adventure, and Hublot's oh, we didn't re-release the original, but it kind of looks like we did, right? That was it.
Yeah.
How much heritage do you have to have before you're allowed to celebrate the heritage, or alternatively?
They have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of SKUs. I think it's based upon how much different stuff you've done. They've done enough stuff to have heritage.
So, David, your take on this is basically starts off with Rolex about how quick they are to remove the previous incarnations of anything when they launch something new. And indeed, one of the main watch spotting things at Watches and Wonders is spotting not just what's new, but what's been removed from the catalogue. Yep. Are Rolex the leader of this, ignoring everything we've done and leaving it to Chrono 25 to engage with it?
They really are. I wish they were quite so efficient in other ways, but they really are not. But with this, it's unreal how good they do and how well they perform. So it's on us to save these releases and press releases and images and all the rest of it. If you want to find something from Rolex from 10 years ago or even 2 years ago, they discontinued the Yachtmaster 2, which was an expensive watch. It's between $19,000 and $48,000 US. And if you bought one of those 2 years ago, today you cannot find a single piece of information of it anywhere. How could that possibly be? I don't understand. And what's the gain from it? Why would someone go to work at Rolex on a Tuesday morning and be like, okay, well, now we're removing everything about that watch? Why would you do that? It's such a betrayal of your customers in my mind.
Well, it is a bit weird. I've never really considered it, but it is a bit weird.
You see it with other industries, like with cars, when they've got the new 2025 model, the 2024 one's gone, but they're releasing a new version every single year. And let's be real, no one's really looking at the history on the brand's website. Rolex might keep the same Submariner model for, 10, 20 years. The fact that they don't have an archive section where it just tracks, what was, is a little bit curious that isn't sequestered anywhere on their website. And no real brands seem to do that. It's not just Rolex. None of the large ones seem to have click on this page and you'll see the archive of the Carrera where you'll see the first one all the way leading up. It would clear up a lot of the uncertainty that exists around production dates if the manufacturer themselves would clearly state what it is. And, here's the proper timeline as we, the ones who made it. But they refuse to comment, Rolex especially, in a very notable way. They refuse to comment on any of it. So it really is what David's saying. It's remarkably efficient how it's not just like they update the website. They really just don't, phase that information out of the current vernacular really, really quickly.
But bearing in mind how bad some watch websites are for only displaying what they currently have on sale, could you imagine how completely unnavigable they would be if they tried to present you their previous watches and SKUs that they had sold? It would be the most it would be like one of those mind maps.
Omega. There's not enough space on the internet to house every past Omega SKU.
Yeah, just have a museum.rolex.com or something like that, or archives or something like that. So if you're searching for something new, there's no way for you to find that. I think that could totally work.
That's true. They have Rolex.org where they put all of their non-watch related stuff. Put an archive website out there.
Is Rolex.org a thing? I didn't know that.
It is. It's Rolex. It's all the non-watch stuff of Rolex.
It's so that they don't have to pay any taxes. They have to pose as a philanthropist, basically. It's like, oh, we're not paying any taxes. I guess we have to appear as though we were doing something with our 11 billion Swiss francs per year.
I did not know there was a Rolex.org. Here we go. Perpetual Planet Initiative. Okay, you already made that.
It's literally one big PR website, okay? That's all it is.
It's the Rolex Awards of Enterprise. It is, it's everything they do.
One big digital pat on the back.
Oh, look at this. Oh, there's a wee rotating globe thing. Interestingly, a lot of targets in Greenland. I wonder if they're sharing some aspirations there. Disproportionately, one would suggest, the importance of the country. I think there may be a conspiracy here waiting to be unpacked. We can also invite others to discover these Rolex-inspiring initiatives. Poles, mountains, and forests moment. Is that even English? Poles, mountains, and forests moment. That doesn't scan properly. Was a guy playing the drums? Dizzy's Club. All right, so this is where all the Rolex ambassadors go to live. Oh, there is actually a watch on it. Well, there you go. If anyone would like to, there's got to be some stuff on this website that's absolutely bonkers claims. So if you happen to be familiar with it, do send us in podcast at aBlogtoWatch.com. Your favorite PR promotion from Rolex or anybody else for that matter. Let's stop sharing that and have a look at this from Rolex's baby brother. Did anybody ask for a Tudor Black Bay 54 Lagoon Blue watch? Ripley, you wrote this up. Tell us a little bit about this from Tudor.
Well, it's the Black Bay 54, which we got, I believe, 2 years ago at Watches and Wonders. And when the 54 debuted in 37 millimeters, it was kind of the most historically accurate version of the Black Bay. Recalls the size of the original 1954 Tudor Submariner, and it had a black dial, gilt markings, and an oyster bracelet. Now we have that watch, and it's kind of a modern, softer expression. It's not Tiffany, we're going to call it Lagoon Blue dial, polished steel bezel. And instead of an oyster bracelet, you get, it's not the Jubilee because it's Tudor. You get their quote unquote 5-link bracelet. But it's very much the same watch we know. It's just kind of the total opposite aesthetic direction rather than being the super vintage kind of in the know play for those who love Tudor's heritage. This is kind of the version of the brand's smallest contemporary diver that is a much more modern, trendy expression, clearly aimed at a unisex audience, given the different marketing images. But nothing revolutionary from the inside. Exact same movement, MT 5400. So it's not META certified. It's the same as the standard 54, aka COSC plus Tudor's in-house cert. But yeah, not a revolutionary watch, basically just a new dial bezel bracelet variation.
Ariel, David, any comments on this?
I mean, it looks like something that Swatch Group / Breitling came out with. Like it's a smaller version of a men's watch with some feminine coloring, kind of okay, but ambiguous marketing. I had to do a double take. Like, this is from Rolex. It just doesn't feel like anything I associate with that company. It's very mainstreamy, generic looking. I mean, it's a nice product for sure. I just, I don't know. I like, this could say Tissot on it and I'd be like, okay, right?
Yeah. $4,350. Does that seem expensive to anybody?
It's a wee bit more than the standard Black Bay 54. Typically, the 5-link bracelets for both Rolex and Tudor cost a tiny smidgen more than their 3-link predecessors. And then I think the remaining premiums like $75 or something, which I guess goes towards the bezel and dial being more elaborate than the regular ones. But it's pretty much right in line with what they're charging for the bracelet-equipped version of the standard model.
Yeah, Boris in the chat is suggesting definitely not Tiffany Blue nor late to the party Black Bay 54. Yeah, it does seem like it's a bit behind the curve. Does it also seem to you like it's been done by the same marketing team at Jaguar? Is this just the Jaguar marketing team spreading out these images? It's all just pastels and look at this sand. What's going on?
It's just so blasé and generic.
What's going on?
No effort. Just nothing.
we're possibly back. We disappeared. I think we're back.
Did we just kill all the live audience members?
We just killed everybody. We
just dropped them off a cliff.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure what the script is there. That's going to screw everything up. Goodbye, but welcome back. So Black Bay 54. Let's move on to something a bit different. Hold on. Let's move on to guess the price this week of the Grand Seiko Sport Collection Tokyo Lion Tentagraph SLGC 009. Grand Seiko have been pushing the Tentagraph for a couple of years now. I think it was it 2 years or 3 years ago it was launched at Watches and Wonders, this particular thing. Do we like it, first of all?
There's another watch which really, I think, should be the Tentagraph. There's no tentacles on here, and I'm sorry, you can't be the Tentagraph without tentacles.
we need more octopi.
It's the Seiko. It's the Kraken. I think it's the Galante Kraken. It's like this crazy dive watch that has some squid-like things on that. That watch, if there's any Seiko that's the Tentagraph, it's that. I mean, does someone else here see, I guess, the Tenta thing because it's the 5 hertz thing? Is that what they're trying to go for? I don't know. Just, it sounds like tentacles. Come on, Japanese Tentagraph, it's got to have tentacles.
You think it's some looking at a big Kraken just going over Mount Iwate? Tudor did cut us off because we're not too enthused.
I also have a problem with the name of this particular Tentagraph because I'm fairly certain that there are no lions in Tokyo either. So there's no lions in Tokyo. There's no tentacles other than Tentagraph. Like, what are we even doing? It's a very nice watch with a very capable movement, but the name of this is absolutely wrong.
So what would you call it? Oh, David, what have you just sent me in the chat?
I happen to have a Galante that Ariel described in my wish list on Chrono 25. So I very much on hand. I had it. I only had to type Galante into my. There it is.
Oh wow!
Yikes!
Ariel, you're muted.
That's not the Kraken one though. That's a cool one. That's one of many cool Galantes. Awesome, but the Kraken is a totally different one.
Gordon Bennett,
so much watch. I'm so tempted. And it's actually, I think,
it's for men who like roses, right? Real men like roses.
Those screws on the outside of the case are impressive. I'm not. What are those?
They're screws.
Yeah.
For what?
And you have diamonds.
Holding stuff down, so great. The sheer power of this watch requires industrial size bolts.
That bracelet is bonkers. Look at that. And yours for $4,869. Where is this based? How?
Japan, of course.
More important question, David, is how this is still available. How long have you had this in your saved items in Chrono 25?
Actually, not that long, like a week or maybe 2.
All right,
these actually sell.
It's not that it's been sitting there for a year.
Yeah.
Okay, well. Back to our guess the price. So, gentlemen, how much you pay?
Have I shown you my Egypt themed crater? Have I shown you that?
Oh, look at this. Go on then. Go on.
Look at this. This is the best watch. The mostest watch I've ever found anywhere online. It's insane.
This is it.
Brace yourselves.
Are we saying this wins watches? Is that what you're saying?
Look at it.
Oh, chinks. Okay, go to YouTube immediately, aBlogtoWatch Weekly Live, or the aBlogtoWatch full YouTube channel later on in the week, and you can celebrate the Seiko Crater Egypt GBKF 970 2F70-5A00 gold times black 18 karat yellow gold solid gold diamond bezel Unifex finished rare watch from Chrono 25, and here it is.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
less than $8,000.
I'm not, David.
I'm not sure if I can handle rare twice.
Yeah,
that's too
but
much
it's
for
legit.
me.
I googled this watch. There's zero information on it. There's just this one example with hieroglyphs on the dial for some reason.
Yeah, this is
That is something.
But it's something. It's definitely
Was
something.
it taken off of a mummy? Is that where they got it?
I was going to say.
Yeah, probably. It was found in a tomb. Look at those. Look at the channel setting and all the rest of it. It's really quite something. Honestly,
It's not the most subtle diamond setting. It does look like they've been crowbarred in between the two.
How big is
rails. It looks like they've basically used a large rubber mallet to get those diamonds into that bezel. Just tap them in. Literally, there's not much subtlety in
what
that.
was the pitch at Grand Seiko? Like, I like Egypt. I like it too. I like hieroglyphs. I like it too. I like diamonds. Sure. And then they just throw
I like squares.
Squares very much.
Yeah, I mean, bear in mind it's Egypt. I suppose the middle is kind of pyramidal, looking down on the pyramids. Is that what they're going for?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there we go. So do we think this Seiko Creator that's diamond encrusted is $7,912?
Can you get more watch for less? Is it possible to spend less and get more?
That's the challenge. Do you think that sounds like a chat? Anybody in the chat this morning, send us your links in the chat if you think you can find more watch for less than $8,000. So the question then is the Seiko that we're supposed to be doing Guess the Price of higher, or could you buy both of the watches that David has presented for the price of that one
Tentagraph?
I'm going to say
for the
yes.
Tentagraph. If I can find the link again, we will have a look and see. So I think the total was about 12 grand. So can you buy 12 grand of the most watches, rare watches for the price of the Seiko? Ariel, do you think you can get the two watches for the price of this one?
Yes.
Or just one?
Yes.
Yeah, David.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And Ripley's like, hell yeah, you can.
Yeah, you'll have like $2,000 to spare after that.
Well, this particular Seiko costs $16,000 US.
You'll have $4,000 to spare. Ooh.
You'll be able to go and buy yourself a lovely
you
little
can get the
Tudor
too at that point.
Exactly.
You can literally get all of the watches we've discussed.
All the Seiko 5s. James is suggesting come back, Hublot, all is forgiven after that Seiko. But if you want to suggest in the chat something you can get for more watch for less money, then do.
It's kind of like the Grand Bang.
Away. The Grand Bang. Okay, where are we going here exactly?
Just saying that's what that watch is. Price-wise, design-wise, I just think we all had to add it up. It's the Grand Bang. Yeah.
Right. I want to know if any of you have come across this book, Apple in China. Is this
Are you trying to sell your new book?
Yeah, this is my new book. It's Apple in China.
Tell us more.
So the basic contrivance of this book is that Apple spent so much money, $50 billion a year or something daft, sending so many engineers to China that China now has Apple over a barrel because they now have all the skills to make anything that Apple make. And that kind of rolls itself out when you look at the car industry, etc. My question is, are we about to see this in the world of watches? We have seen for a while, lots of Chinese quality watches improving, but like their cars and like their tech in phones, etc., they suddenly, in the last maybe 18 months, especially on the car side, have taken a big jump and gone from being, we produce the parts that we send out to no, here's our BYD, here's our Seiko, and we're now the biggest in the world. Have the Swiss got themselves into bother in that they have exported so much of the skills to China that China is just waiting to come and take over from those that don't really care whether the watch is made in Switzerland or not? They just want a good watch that's fashionable, more fashionable than those Seikos we've just shown of David's.
There's a missing element here.
Go on.
It's not that China can't do it, is that it's completely against their manufacturing culture to do so. The Swiss do it by being slow and expensive and low volume. And the Chinese are like, wait a minute, I want to be able to make a lot of something and make money and put less effort into it because that just makes less margin. So there would have to be enough of that correct culture in China, plus the economics around it to do that. I don't really think it exists. It can in a limited way, but it's a cultural difference rather than an intellectual barrier. Again, if the Chinese wanted to do that, they could. It just goes against their culture of how they profit as businesses.
David, Ripley, agree, disagree?
Did it take, Apple to move all that know-how there? I think, everyone's been doing this. It's been, it's well known that, Chinese companies and OEMs have so much insight and so much knowledge, and they have taken so much from so many of these industries. I think it was, inevitable for them to slowly, or maybe not so slowly, gather all the know-how that they need to be able to replicate, or as you said, to have their original customers over the barrel. I mean, it was inevitable.
Yeah, and I mean, also with cars or phones, what you're trying to get is like the best functional thing for the lowest price. And with watches, it's often far different. Part of the reason why someone buys any luxury watch is because they're romanced by the guy Jean-Claude working in the Alps, making the dial by hand and all of this, and they're happy to pay for that price. And it comes from this company that's been around from the 1700s and so on and so forth. And so, a lot of what people are buying into when they're buying a luxury watch is all of that ineffable stuff. If we really just want to go to the bottom dollar, most function for minimal money, we just go get a G-Shock. That already exists. China makes their own digital watches. But, when we get into a premium product, an enthusiast product, the comparative advantage of manufacturing plays less of an importance, and it becomes more about, how well you're able to execute it, like Ariel said, by making only a few of them and taking forever on them. And then, how you're able to romance it to people when you present it to them.
But that's fine until you say, well, wait a minute, Rolex produce 1.3 million watches a year and are still considered a luxury company. And are they? Or is the volume that these watch brands are producing, in particular Rolex, and the fact that it's managed to tag itself with this luxury status, does the production volume introduce an inherent risk in that, as Ariel says, China are all about how many we can produce and how quickly we can produce them? Well, they can certainly produce enough product, presumably of the same or similar quality. It's only the story and the marketing that they're missing.
You want me to respond?
Well, I'd like somebody to respond. I'm happy just to wax lyrical about how I think there is an inherent risk here going on. And,
I think it's easier to make the manufacturing than to make the story. If you gave me a ton of money, I can get a bunch of very expensive machines, employ some very good people, actually take QC seriously, and I could make a very nice product. No one's going to want to buy that product, yet there's tons of people who buy a Royal Oak regardless of how it's finished just because it's an AP. And so, I think it's way easier to make a good product than there is to make a desirable brand. So China can make a very good luxury watch, but if they're not also able to sell it, make people want it, that's more than half the battle there.
I don't know. Do you guys buy watches because of the stories? I'm not sure I do.
Stories is a big collective term. It can mean a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily mean there's this cool piece of literature around it or some famous person wore it. It could be why it was made. I think that Rolex is the exception to the norm in terms of being able to mass produce something and still achieve an extremely high level of quality. Their ability to consistently reinvest and not just try to produce the same thing for less money and erode away at quality, but they keep upping the ante. So it's a very strange set of circumstances they have that helps the product, yes, be something which is excellent across all measures, but even produced in a high volume. They, of course, innovate even on how they make watches, and so much of it is done in-house so they can control all that. So you're right. They represent a special sort of exception. They're not necessarily representative of the normal rule, which is if you make a lot of stuff, it's probably not that great. But I think just our direct knowledge of that makes it clear that they're a little bit different. Now, I think Rolex could charge less. That's true. But that's, again, a slightly different story.
Okay, doke. Well, let's see what happens. I highly recommend reading the book Apple in China. I have no part to play in it whatsoever. David, you reviewed this, which also ties back to your earlier article, and this is one brand which you said actually does celebrate its history and its heritage, and this is the newest release in the long-running relationship between Chopard and Mille Miglia. This is the Chopard Mille Miglia GTS Power Control and Classic Chronograph watch. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, every year for the last 30-something years, this is the 38th year for Chopard to be a sponsor of the Mille Miglia, the co-president of Chopard, Friedrich Schäufele drives on it. You know, it's. I think this really shows in the watches themselves as well, in this collaboration, that this is one of the more genuine collaborations and partnerships, especially since it's, long spanning like that. So, I think these are pretty cool. The Chrono, I'm kind of baffled by because it's over 10 grand with a net movement, and even though it has a lucent steel case and it's very nice, I don't think it's 10. It's 5-figure nice. So I just don't know how they came up with that price. But this one, the GTS Power Control, this is the familiar Mille Miglia watch for many people out there because it has the fuel gauge power reserve at 9 o'clock. Sometimes it's other places. With the salmon dial and the shiny black strap and this new movement, because this movement is new for this watch. I was like, wow, this is so great. I would love to have this watch. And it's less than 8, so it's 7,600, but it does have that pretty wild caliber that we saw in the super fast and some other rather more expensive watches from Chopard. So this is a big upgrade for this particular watch to have this movement. And it's sort of competitive at that price. It's expensive, but it's the Mille Miglia I would have.
Yeah, 7-8 grand sounds like almost a bargain for a watch with Chopard on it, and as you say, a bit of history and an actual story that does stand the test of time. If you were the owner of a watch brand, and clearly you could just decide what you were going to sponsor because it was also what you happened to be into in a personal way, which watch brand would you own and what event would you sponsor, Ripley?
I think Hublot's doing it right. I'd own Hublot and I'd sponsor the World Cup. Just like, how much bigger do you get than the big bang on the biggest sporting event in the world? And you only have to do it once every 4 years. Everyone. Yeah, I think they're doing it perfectly. If I could take charge of anything, I'll just take over Hublot.
Hublot in the World Cup. Ariel, brand you would take over, an event you would sponsor just for your own personal gratification? You would take over being unmuted and go again.
I feel like those are so different questions, like the brand I would run versus the thing that I would sponsor. Like that's a tough thing to match. I can tell you what events I would sponsor to really get awareness. I'm thinking about going around the world because there's different ones everywhere. And sponsoring all the standardized tests that students have to take before going into schools. Everyone knows those things. Someone needs to make you feel good for finishing it or something like that. When SAT winners get, I don't know, Longines or something like that. Like, I feel that this is a real way. College entrance exams, all that would be my shtick. Yeah.
So you go around trying to be the watch of qualifying for things.
Yeah, something like exams, that. I'd see how it goes.
Pass watch. Right, okay. It's a strategy, I suppose. It's a strategy.
I can't afford the NBA.
What do you think would be the price point of such a watch that would be the go-to for every time somebody passed an exam? Would you have to be in the $500?
It's got to be plausibly low enough, but also high enough that you could bribe a teenager that if they do well, they'll get one.
Right, okay, so it's a sweet spot. It says, if you pass your exams, you get this much money spent on you.
Yeah.
And it gets spent on a watch.
In fact, the brand should make you send your score, and if you get a good score, only then are you eligible to get certain watches.
I'm just waiting for somebody at Bremen to think this is where to take the MB2 story, the ejection sheet story to us. Send us your exam scores, and we'll send you a Bremen. David, what would be your brand? What would be your event? It's going to be motor racing, isn't it?
Yeah, I would be happy with Chopard or Rolex and just go endurance racing or just all kinds of motor racing events for sure.
Any motor racing. Good stuff. It's been suggested in the chat that Ming is an example of a watch brand that has broken out of Asia. And Joseph is saying, no, he doesn't buy watches because of the story. Why do you buy watches then, Joseph? Give me reasons why you buy watches in particular.
To tell the time.
He has given us an answer. He's answered his own question. Craftsmanship, engineering, and design aesthetics. That's why he buys watches. It sounds very, very noble reason, as opposed to just showing off, as I suspect more than most of us actually buy watches for. So the Mille Miglia, you've been on this event a couple of times, I think, David. You didn't get an invite this year?
I went once in 2019, so just before the pandemic, and I drove on it 2 days, so that was a lot of fun.
And was it in any way comfortable? Or it always strikes me that these classic rallies look like a good idea at the time and then mostly turn into a nightmare, especially if it's warm and there's no air conditioning.
Oh, of course not. I mean, it's a 1950s little Abarth with like 50 horsepower that you're revving all the wheels off it. It was a lot of fun. It's a little death trap, basically, that you are doing 90 miles an hour and you feel like one of the wheels is going to fall off at any moment, and you're chasing cars that are worth millions of Swiss francs. It was a lot of fun. I drove 2 full days with the kind assistance of Italian police, so it was really, I never thought I would drive that Larry anywhere and still get the public support for it. So everyone in Italy was just like making room, giving you the thumbs up, applauding, cheering for the cars, all the rest of it. Even if you drove on sidewalks and the wrong way around roundabouts and all these things we did, and it was tremendous fun.
Do you think you could distinguish Italian cheering from, hey, get the hell off the roads, what are you doing?
I think I could.
Lots of waving arms.
I feel it might look very
The Italians
similar.
have very good ways of getting their point across. So
if they're upset at you, you will know about it. I think this is also the reason why Ariel doesn't buy vintage watches. Is the same reason why we shouldn't really be driving vintage cars at rallies. Is that right, Ariel?
I love looking at them. I hate the idea of driving one. I mean, David said they're death traps. They're fun because they're unsafe, and there's like no sophistication. You're too connected to the road. Look, I get the romance, but I just so would rather have a modern car 10 out of 10 times. There's no instance. Yes, I understand. Like maybe they're not even better for getting women. They're better for getting other men, if that's what you're looking for. I mean,
that's true for most cars, though.
That's who they're attracting, right? I just felt like a Mercedes with a giant back seat and lots of cushions and suspension.
All right, okay. So I no to your 1960s Universal Genève, and yes to your 2025 concrete Hublot is what you're basically saying.
Look, there's so many people into the vintage stuff. You don't need me, one more person trying to dilute what's available.
What are the good vintage watches? Like, what is the theme? I'm
Apparently the brands
Ariel.
are all making them today.
That's right. There's no such. There's all new vintage watches. I mean, we've gone through various phases. Pre-COVID, and now it was Universal Genève, and it was Rolex. What was the quartz Rolex called? It was the Oyster Quartz, and all these things had their little moment. Is there a vintage watch that's having its moment just now, or have all the vintage people gone back into their caves to play with their gas stoves, their vintage watches, and their styrographs and spirographs?
They're buying those things like that Creedor David pulled up, where it is the absolute most watch for the least amount of money. Because once you have like a bunch of vintage chronographs or divers, like, do you really need another one? You're looking for some interesting stuff. And one of the things I do like about vintage is that you can get some designs that the brands aren't producing today. For every single brand making a heritage-inspired chronograph or diver, there's some weird thing on a bracelet with gemstones that they will never make again. And so those can be some of the more compelling watches to buy if you're kind of jaded with, you know, the regular vintage offering. So a lot of the guys I know who maxed out on, you know, vintage Rolex sport watches now have some weird gold Piagets and stuff like that, you know, accruing in their collections.
Oh, actually, Piaget, that was the thing that was the most recent, is these Piagets and Cartiers, all these small gold watches, which is where David thinks all watches are eventually going to go to, is small gold and possibly some diamonds on them. Isn't that right? More vintagey, the better.
Slowly, we're headed that way. That's true.
Good stuff. Right, let's play Hit Miss Maybe. So let's go around the room. First of all, Ariel, we already know what you're wearing. Actually, we already know where you are. Interesting watch that's sitting on your desk waiting for review.
Yeah, actually, talking about China. So I have the so Siga Design has their Blue Planet watch, which was pretty well received. And this new one, it's called the Atlantic. So it's like a different view of the Earth.
Has it got the Gulf of America on it?
Well, it's kind of like nothing is the center except an ocean. So there's no part of the world is like, oh, I recognize my home. It's more like, okay.
It was the easiest view to produce. It had the least amount of metal work on it if they just showed mostly ocean.
Yeah, so they had this whole like Pacific one I get, and then they get the Atlantic. It's just hilarious that like that's the view that they decide. So cool watch, but it's so like, you know, it's just for Earth dwellers. You can't have any allegiance to a specific land
dweller.
Yeah, this is, well, even though the focus is the ocean, this is the that would be just the Earth dweller. Anyways, that's an interesting watch. So yeah.
Cool. David, where are you today? And you'll not be wearing a watch probably, so what's on your desk?
Yeah, I have on my desk the Bulova Super Seville mural for IFL watches with a hand-painted dial. This is just so much fun. I freaking love this thing.
Is it a good, like, I get the whole dial painting, all the rest of it from Chris, who's based in Scotland, as happens. Is it a good watch, though, minus the dial art?
It really is. 2 feet. The Super Seville is a good watch. It's comfy to wear. It's accurate within a couple of seconds every year, basically. It's very accurate. It has a sweeping seconds hand. I wish it was water resistant, which it is not, but it's very comfy. Looks good on the wrist. I love this watch very much. I think it's the complete package with this dial.
Good. Ripley, what brand are you repping today in your clothing?
Oh, well, we got Longines on the hat. We've got one of the aBlogtoWatch shirts. And on the wrist, it is one of the Veyer Solar Divers. This is the smaller one, but you can win the bigger one. I believe it's one of the watches left in our survey giveaway. So if you haven't filled that out, go on and fill it out, and you can win the watch, or the bigger version of the watch.
We're almost done with the survey. We'll talk about nerdy statistics sometime.
I think this is one of the ones left. So I think it's a great watch. Easy.
Take it off Ripley's wrist.
No, you get the bigger version. This is the Ripley sized version. So you get the appropriate regular
compliment Ripley's wrist.
Senior rather than junior version.
That doesn't happen much. No one compliments my wrist.
Oh, Ripley, we think you've got lovely wrists.
For a
compliment, Lady Datejust. Right, we're talking of a Lady Datejust and all things. We'll go for our first. I'm in Scotland wearing a Panerai as always. We'll go to our first article, which is going to be via the Flyback. And this is the Blancpain 50 Fathoms Automatic Her Way for Women. As is commented in the article, Blancpain uses Her Way for Women at the top of the press release as, you know, as if we didn't know that women were allowed to buy watches. It is either $18,500 or $34,600. I saw this and thought that this was one of those Swatch watches.
We all did.
We all
all did.
We all
Even-
thought the exact same thing, and they're like, "Wait a minute, this is not a Swatch."
This is
What?
actually a real Blancpain.
I was like, "Did I been looking at AI for too long? Is this real?" Like, I'm like, "What's going on?" This must have snuck out. This is not like I don't think this is a real watch. I think someone's like, "Well, what if we did a hybrid between the Swatch and our thing?" I don't. Is it real?
The price is not a hybrid though.
Well, it's incredible because they even made a pink version of the Blancpain, except it had a matching pink, case with it. This, you get a steel case instead, or is it titanium instead of.
Did like someone's girlfriend want this, and then Blancpain's like, "Oh crap, we have to make a bunch of them now."
Nyla wanted it, probably.
Oh, okay.
There's a few people in the chat thinking this was also a Swatch watch. I suppose it's kind of stealth wealth. You could argue that.
I mean, is this going to be a whole thing like hashtag? Is that a Swatch?
Is that a Swatch?
I mean, I can't think of another Blancpain where you could leave it on your wrist, pass out in the middle of a busy street, and no one would take it off. They would just assume you're wearing a Swatch.
Yeah. Now, all that said, I actually quite like this. And it's been ruined by the fact that you could have thought that it was a Swatch. But if the whole Swatch thing didn't exist and they just made this, I'd be like, this is a pretty cool watch. Now, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to wear it. I'm not going to buy it for anyone. But that doesn't stop me thinking, actually, that's quite well executed in terms of pinks and pastels. Am I mad?
No. I mean,
you're mad because you're not taking the price into consideration. It's great for a few $100 for the price that it's actually charged for. There's very few outfits. Can you imagine someone that could get away with wearing this on a daily basis? What kind of insane bubblegum attire are they wearing?
It would be like Barbie or Ken.
But it's not even feminine enough to go with Barbie.
I'm big Ken then, I guess. But
right? I'm just saying, like, what insane pink pickup driving character is this for?
Well, it does have a mother of pearl dial, a pink one. I guess there's that.
Okay.
I don't know where we're getting the other $18,000, but
and that's before. I mean, pink gold is pink gold really twice the price of
titanium?
a 38mm watch as titanium in terms of.
I mean, this is going to look insane in pink gold. It look very cool. This will be a hell of a weird jewelry. I feel like the steel one is just because we should just eliminate the conversation and say Blancpain has. Oh, it's titanium. Sorry, Blancpain has a $35,000 gold ladies watch for the richest teenage girl around, and that's the conversation.
Well, the gold one doesn't have the pink, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay,
it's
then
like
I should shut up.
Yeah, it's so regular and boring. No, the pink one's the one you want, but to a tune
Then
of
why
18...
do we even have mention of the other one without a picture of it?
I mean, it was just so uninspiring. I guess we just couldn't squeeze a second one in the image.
I'm not sure there's actually a picture of it on.
So
I can't find it on Blancpain's
usually
website.
we know the watch and no one will tell the price. Now we know a price of a watch we don't have a picture of? How often does that happen?
So product finder, find your Blancpain.
Oh boy! All right, we're not getting anywhere.
Oh wait, there it is. There it is.
So that's the pink one.
What's got that purple strap?
Oh,
Go down a little bit more.
No, it's one of the.
Oh, it has a bracelet too. That makes no sense.
There's a bracelet option.
That's such a bad color combination.
I quite like that.
No, not luxury.
18,400. Not not luxury.
Oh,
because
gosh.
a nylon strap from a shopping bag is luxury. I mean,
It's just this colorway.
I'm fascinated
it's just too
by
juvenile.
how much they're charging for this. Oh, it's only 15,000. So actually, you don't need to spend 18,000. That's for the bracelet.
Oh,
for the shopping
we better
bag
update
strap.
that.
No,
We better update
that's
that
pounds.
article.
That's
pounds. Never mind.
Oh,
yeah.
pounds.
Oh,
All
that's
right,
like
okay.
$45,000 now with the rate that these things are going.
By the end of the show, it'll be a bit more. So so is one of these the rose gold version?
Oh God, I think it's all the same watch and they just have it pictured on different straps. But yeah, that's the other one. It's like a MOP dial, black bezel, gold case.
Right, and it's 38, right? Okay,
you could swap the bezel insert and the dial and the hands onto this. That would be wild.
Yeah, then you just need to buy both, and then you're in it for 50, 60,000. But you
that's a
end up with
sensible
two.
decision.
Oh, 100%. You'd end up with two very distinct watches.
So after we've all spoken about it already, is it a hit, a miss, or a maybe? 1, 2, 3. Miss from David, and maybe from Ripley. Who's it a maybe and a miss from Ariel? Ripley, and maybe. Under what circumstances is this? Oh yeah, you know what? I might consider it.
There's a whole type of person who likes to have something that's shockingly expensive and literally looks identical to the thing that's dirt cheap. Mm-hmm. And this is for them. If you didn't want the $400 Blancpain Swatch, but you liked that ethos and wanted to do that, here it is to a tune of $18,500, and it gets you right there. It's the perfect watch for that guy who's wearing, the plain white shirt that costs $400. It's perfect for that person.
Right, okay. Joseph in the chat suggesting that watchmakers have reduced femininity to the colour pink. I'm not sure that's not where they started, and we've just reverted to that. But yes, I get your point. And Borisic is suggesting that it's a flick-flack for 6-year-olds. It's a fairly wealthy 6-year-old, to be fair. That's definitely a Nepo baby, if ever there was one. Although in protest, Joseph is also suggesting he's going to wear his pink shirt. At Borisic, it's the maybe pain rather than the Blancpain. So there we go. That's all great stuff. Right, so next on the fly back was, is this the feminine version of the Grupo Force GMT Bouncy Convex, now in 42.9 mil rather than 46.5. More components, 22-piece limited edition. What are Grupo Force up to? There seems to be a lot going on there just now. Some watches that are being produced for different price points.
Well, they're independent again. I think that's the big thing. They can do whatever they want now. I've worn some of these cases and they're comfortable. Like, they're really nice. They're not marketing at all or telling their story in any good way. But when it comes to products, the stuff it's good. It's nice.
Is this the problem of being independent, which is, as watchmakers, they get too obsessed with the watches and not enough about telling the story and actually trying to sell them, and then that's what ends up getting them bought over by somebody else again because
I think
they run out of money.
They're always very short-term minded. As long as they have enough orders to keep them busy, they don't think at all about promotion. Then when things slow down, they get into promotion mode up until they're busy again and they stop. So they treat promotion not like some ongoing thing, but some type of like intermittent stop and start, which is not really what promotion is like. They just, again, that's, I guess, the good thing about being independent, run by watchmakers, is they focus on the watchmaking. The bad news is, they seem to go in and out of communication a lot.
There was also, in a similar vein with a similar type of company, Bethune this week. They've had some movements in the corporate entity, and they are owned by what's now called the 1916. We'd be more familiar with them as Watchbox. I would think, is that a company that's in the kind of opposite part of the wave? It's owned by the corporate overlord, the big company that's great at promotion or thinks it's great at promotion and is looking to push that and is suffering at that end because it's losing its kind of funky, we can do anything, build everything and don't necessarily need to make a profit. Nope.
I think they are profit-oriented still, but it's just a weird sequence of decisions and ups and downs. It's true.
It's difficult to totally understand. I mean, they've gone from independent, a little bit of Richemont, independent. Let's have a plan to make a bunch of watches and expand. Let's lower production. I mean, I don't think they're telling the story, but I think the last 10 years of Grupo Force has been fascinating from a business perspective. Nothing to do with watchmaking. Obviously, that's had an effect on their products, but I think that Grupo Force still continues to make some amazing stuff. We don't necessarily want to wear each individual item, but the products they're coming out with are fantastic and really, really cool. I think Bethune is, again, another mystery. We're not really quite clear what's going on, but I think that Grupo Force probably commercially has done better. Bethune is really been held under the nail of 1916, not really been able to do their own thing. They were hoping that they could sort of play with distribution, kind of like FP Journe, and it would be like this hot thing. Never really got there. So I think that Deb and Tune, while it's great that it's sort of owned by a retailer in the United States, that part's good. I don't think the retailer in the United States has done a lot of great things with it. So I think that between the two, Grupo Force is probably the one that's in a better position right now, at least from a brand perspective.
Interestingly, going back to our earlier conversation on the Grupo Force website, it does actually give you some insight into what's come before, even to the extent that it tells you when these watches are or were available from the Balance S3s, available now, Convex S2.
They have pride in their past models because all of them are fantastic. You know, they do finishing better than almost anybody. So clearly there's a little bit of pride in the back catalog going on over here with them.
Are Grupo Force still the pinnacle or like right up there in terms of still, would you say Grupo Force would still be qualified as being industrially produced? Obviously, there's a shed load of hands involved in it, but it's not a handmade watch like a Roger Smith. They're not
they make one.
Cases.
They have that. I don't know why I'm suddenly forgetting, but they have that crazy expensive one, which is basically made by hand. So they do that. I don't know enough about how they do things, but I do know that it barely matters because they're not just trying to make fragile watches. There we go. There's the handmade too. Wow. Yeah. So now I know why I forgot the name. It was too obvious.
Handmade.
What does that mean? But I think that the distinction between industrial and not industrial is not really relevant here because it's still pretty low production. And these things, each one just takes so many hours.
Yeah. Yeah. So this particular iteration, the reduced size 42.9, is that important that Grupo Force are now trying to produce watches that are maybe of a bit more wearable size?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a trend that we've been seeing from them for a couple of years where they've taken something that was, an important model to them and reduced it down to something of more wearable proportions. I love their stuff, but some of my biggest critiques of certain models are just like, that is a huge watch. It's very comfortable on the wrist, very well engineered, but like you can only cut up like 45 millimeters and change so many different ways. This at 42.9, it's still going to be a very large watch, but there's no real lugs. And the fact that they're able to, keep the same design DNA of the watch itself in a smaller package is something that should be applauded. And apparently the movement has 73 more parts than the larger version. So that's cool too, I guess.
Which strikes me as odd, but there we go. Do we think it really is 42.9 or do we think it actually is 43? But like selling something for 99 pence rather than £1, they felt they needed to get it under. And that, if you were to take some accurate calipers, maybe you'd get to 43 mil.
I just round up. I wouldn't. I didn't write this. I would have just said 43. I wouldn't have even written
that. Okay, so on that basis, was this a hit, a miss, or a maybe for you? I think it's a hit, isn't it? 42. It's a maybe from David. David, why just a maybe?
I mean, the price is bound to be ridiculous, and it's not always easy to. Maybe it's just a wrong day for me, but it's not always easy for me to get excited about preposterously priced stuff. I mean, it's going to. Yeah, the case is very nice, the execution is perfect, but at the same time, the price is up
but
there.
Let's live in the fantasy that we can afford this stuff. This is actually a watch you can walk away with and feel like, you know what? I know that at least they did everything possible to make this watch a good experience. There's a lot of brands you can spend that amount of money and you wonder where they cut corners. Like it may not be the perfect watch to suit your taste, but you can walk away feeling confident after that.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. Well, talking of watches that are walking away with other people's stuff, our final hit miss maybe is the Seiko Prospects SRPL 81 Jaws 50th anniversary. And the main point about this watch is Seiko had nothing to do with the Jaws movie. Why are Seiko celebrating Jaws, the movie 50th anniversary? Because it wasn't Seiko that were involved.
Why
with
are
it.
all these brands slapping NASA on the dial that had nothing to do with anything NASA's done?
And why are they using the king turtle model as the foundation for a shark themed watch?
Because you know that a giant turtle's the natural enemy of the giant shark.
Okay, this went sideways somewhere. Okay.
Really fast.
So $795, great. I mean, the whole NASA thing for watches is that NASA will sell their rights to use their logo to anyone that wants to buy for it. As I understand it, if we wanted to produce an aBlogtoWatch NASA collab, we could just pay the money and away we'd go. Not too many questions asked.
I feel like someone at Seiko agreed to the idea of it before an actual watch. They're like, guys, we got the Jaws contract. You know, they're like, oh, nice. Let's wait a minute.
I'm just curious about the whole relationship between the Japanese and sharks. And,
they're
kind
tasty.
Of culturally, that they didn't kind of, there was something lost in translation about we're going to do a shark themed watch. And somebody in Europe, shark theme must be Jaws, whereas
so
that's
are you
not
saying
what
it's
they had in
basically a
mind.
seafood appreciation watch?
Yeah, but they got lost in translation when they spoke to somebody in marketing who was like the English-speaking intern in Japan.
Wear this to your favorite high-end sushi restaurant. That's essentially the right place to wear this. We figured it out. It's not about being afraid of nature or the water or lots of teeth. It's about eating seafood with your jaw.
Limited to 5,000 pieces. Is that? I mean, will people just please stop doing this?
There's a lot of sushi lovers out there.
Limited.
In what way is it? Yeah, I mean, does somebody not sit down in the marketing department and go, like, do not go home at night and cry because they went to university, they learned to be a marketer, and now they're suggesting that 5,000 of something is limited?
It's Seiko. If it was not, we would be mad that, how do you expect to sell 500 of these? It's a big world. Many people out there are Seiko fans and maybe Jaws fans as well. So, you gotta cater to these people. So maybe that's why.
You're catering to both the film enthusiasts and the seafood enthusiasts. So 5,000 should be enough for everyone to get one.
Enough to go around for everyone. And is this a good watch? Do we like these prospects? I quite like them.
I mean, the King Turtle's a good watch. It's like the turtle with a ceramic bezel and a sapphire crystal. But I mean, Seiko's prices being what they were, I remember picking up a King Turtle for I think $350, like not that long ago, like maybe 3 years ago or something. So this is like at $800. Again, I don't know what the current retail price is, but I'd love to know how much they're charging for the Jaws co-branding on this one.
Yeah, how much do you think you need to pay to brand something? You got to spread it amongst 5,000 watches that you're hoping to sell. $795, is it $100 a watch or is it $5? I have no concept. It's Ariel. This is more your neck of the woods. How much do you think it costs?
It really depends. Sometimes it doesn't cost anything until they sell stuff. I just feel that Second probably could have done this better. This is a pretty watch, but the one that he did with Squale, where the shark kind of took the bite out of the hour hand, I mean, that's far better. I mean, again, this is like pretty, but it doesn't survive a close inspection as to what it all means. Like it's like, again, it's very superficially cool looking, but it does not survive intellectual scrutiny.
Are there many watches that do?
Yeah.
What's the most? What watch survives intellectual scrutiny the most?
The purpose this watch is meant for is a very obvious question, and we determined that the closest thing we could do is eating seafood. You don't wear it to remind you of Jaws. It's got nothing to do with Jaws. Do you wear it to feel afraid in the ocean? That's not a good reason to wear a watch. Like, I just...
to remind you.
Be afraid, don't touch water. With our dive watch.
Yeah.
Go swimming if you dare.
Yeah, should this not have been like rather than being on a dive watch, should it not have been on a pilot's watch? Like, the idea is not to get eaten by Jaws. So you should not be putting the Jaws logo on something that takes you as far away from being eaten
go
as
out in the
possible.
water and get bitten? I mean, what is this watch for?
Yeah, so actually a pilot's watch, you're up in the sky, no problem.
Nothing sets your mind at ease.
Snakes on a plane, very few sharks on a plane.
Drops the pulse more than right before you descend into the ocean, looking at your watch, rotating the bezel, and realizing that there could be a giant great white that just murders indiscriminately below you.
Oh, well, and on that note, right, so it's a miss. What is it for you guys? A hit, a miss, or a maybe? Miss, maybe. Ariel, what's going to tempt you to buy this?
I mean, again, if I was handed it, it's not bad looking, okay? It's a nice looking watch. It's fun colors. I would just have to not know English. I'd have to have no idea what any of it meant. I'd just be like, oh, that's pretty. Look at that gradient. Oh, a little red in the middle there. Like, I can enjoy it in that regard. It's a good watch. Should not know what the actual theme is about.
Right, so long as you've been living under a rock and have no idea what the movie Jaws is, then this is the watch for you that just has some random red text on it.
Look, a lot of kids have no clue.
That's true. The kids
my son has no clue what Jaws is.
So
no
old.
clue.
And that's good.
Just saying.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. He shouldn't be watching it. Is it an 18? I don't know what it is.
I think it's PG older. Because they didn't have PG-13 back when it was originally released, so it's got a PG rating.
Is it really?
I believe so.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
There's a couple movies like that where you look back and you wonder why it's not PG-13, and it was literally because they didn't have PG-13.
Didn't have it.
Yeah, and it wasn't going to be an R. You know, there's not that much swearing or nudity in it.
Okay. Right. Well, that is us for this week. Thank you all very much for joining in and on the live show as well. What's everyone up to the next week, Ariel? Anything exciting in the watch world you're taking part in?
Making plans for the future. There's lots of stuff happening over the next several months. Obviously, more travel and things like that. So, David and I. We have to email those folks, by the way. We're going to be going to see some dials being made. Love those beautiful dials. That's always nice. And yeah, just planning to see a lot of stuff. Probably some beautiful cars I don't want to drive. That's coming in my future. Going to see a lot of that too.
David, what's in your watch future this week?
I'm trying to find some pictures of something that doesn't have pictures available and then write about it. So that's the mission now. You will learn next week if I have succeeded, or maybe the week after that. It really depends. Hopefully I will get them today.
Good stuff. And Ripley, what's in your future?
Oh, if only I knew. Every day's a new struggle. Plenty of hands-on reviews. I've got a pile of watches I'm looking at that'll need to be covered. So, at least that'll be the constant in it.
Good. Right. Well, thank you all very much for joining in. We will speak to you again in a week or so's time. Ariel looks like he's asking. Ariel's bouncing around. He looks like he's demanding that we go out on the jingle. So let's find the jingle and see if
you could read my mind. Thank you.
I could read your mind.
You want to know, you want to talk.
It's so loud.
Is it too loud?
More tempo.
Faster. Here comes the middle eight. It's a bit wee. Make a shape. Excellent.
That always makes you smile at the end.
You see, there it is. That's the show for us. We'll see you all again in a week or so's time. But you can go to the Blog to Watch Weekly live channel. It's always a little bit extra at the end. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Catch you next week.
Everyone.
Bye.